Hello and welcome to another installment of our Women in STEM series. My name is Kaylee Peel and I'm the library's Manager of Strategic Partnerships. And today our guest is Ashley Eusey from Hoefer Welker. Ashley, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So first, I'd love if you would kind of walk us through your career and your role at Hoefer Welker now.
Sure. So I actually didn't know I wanted to be an engineer. And in high school, I was in more of it wasn't really STEM back then, that wasn't a term that we would use, but the advanced learning math and physics. And they're like, well, you should really look at engineering. And I didn't have any other better ideas. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. And so ended up going to Rolla. And even there, still felt that kind of like, is this really what I want to do with my life? Is this where I want to go? Still feeling it maybe a little imposter syndrome going forward. Went on and worked with an engineering firm for a very, very short time and was like, oh no, like sitting in front of a computer screen all day, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. Went over into sales because I'm more of a people person, more outgoing. I was like, okay, I'm going to go there, I'll try that. And in the building industry, still in the building industry, and didn't really enjoy that because whether I realized it or not, I am an engineer, and I do enjoy having metrics and some order and some way of decision making. And then I was asked to give it one more try, and I went on and worked with Hoefer Welker, and I've been there for 9 years and have been very, very happy, and I'm glad I didn't quit the industry. So now my role looks a lot different than when I started. I started in more of a construction management role, more of a problem solving role, more of this is the problems with the site, or these are the problems with the systems, and how are we going to solve it to actually get the building built. And then from there I was like, I enjoyed this, I'm good at it, but my passion is sustainability. I want to, this may sound kind of silly and superhero-ish, but I want to save the world. And I can only impact so many things on the construction side. And so I talked to our leadership. They were willing to take a chance on me because we didn't have anything like this. There was no sustainability department. We're barely even doing sustainable design. And I was like, we're going to change the way we do everything. Are you okay giving me the reins? And they did, which I'm very grateful for. And I'm loving it. And it's a little scary creating something new and doing something that's never been done before in your firm, but we've had a lot of success, and I'm glad I took the leap.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that, first of all. I think that it's important to kind of share those types of stories for other women in STEM, because we often have imposter syndrome or, that concept of being specialized in something and not being able to move around or figure out what your passion is. So you were able to kind of have trial and error, which is, I think, very valuable and important. And you might not like it the first time around, but you tried and you knew that you were supposed to be in that field, but you weren't sure how, and now it's working really well.
Right.
It's also great to hear that you kind of forged your own path within an industry within a company that didn't have that focus yet. That's amazing. And you're being a pioneer in your own right. So congratulations to that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and as you've so you might not have been, focused on STEM or engineering at the very beginning of your career, but as you were moving forward, were there historical figures or women in the more recent STEM community that you were kind of aspiring or looking up to?
So, and I think I'm actually going to answer your question in reverse a little bit.
Sure.
So, I will say now I'm really excited to see where education is going and where the industry is going, because I see more and more women stepping into mentorship roles. I see more and more women being talked about in education and being celebrated. That Hidden Figures movie was like, oh my gosh, blew my mind, and it really made me proud to be a woman engineer. But that wasn't really available to me growing up, and so I didn't and it's kind of funny you say pioneer women, because pioneer women were actually who I looked up to in history, not just women like Laura Ingalls Wilder, but also women like Rosa Parks, who are well, no one's standing up for this, and I know this is the right thing, and I know this isn't the way we've always done things, but I'm gonna do it even if I'm the only one standing. And so women like that, or Susan B. Anthony, or the ladies that stood outside of FDR's window every day, during the war. Those women that were willing to stand, those are the ones that really encourage me, and I think give me the strength and encouragement now to stand in a field where sometimes you feel like you're the only one standing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think historically we know that contributions to science, technology, innovation by women were largely overlooked for a long time, and that's kind of trickled into the culture today. You know, you mentioned growing up you didn't really have figures to look up to, and you didn't really have that mentorship model established yet. So what has that experience been like now that you are in the field, and has it changed over the course of your career as a woman in STEM?
For sure. And so, like, my background's pretty diverse, but really architecture, engineering, and construction are all really devoid of strong female figures. And what's been cool is, I've had the privilege to speak at a couple of schools, and I've seen more intern classes come in, and there are more and more women every day. And I think it's because of every year more and more women choose to take that stand and then tell their stories and help demystify that, we read about the women that have succeeded and all we see is the success. But we don't hear about all the moments they came home from work and just sobbed their eyes out because they're like, what am I doing? Was this the right decision? Is this really what I want to do with my life? Or have imposter syndrome, or there were failures along the way in those stories, but they persevered and they didn't give up. And more and more women choosing to stick it out. And like our COO at my work is a woman in engineering. She has stuck it out, and I know she has made opportunities and pathways. She did for me at Hoefer for countless women across the industry. And because of that one woman, all these other women are getting opportunities of leadership. And then we are turning back and saying, hey, I'm going to make opportunities for women behind me. And so I think that maybe it wasn't there at the beginning. Maybe it was even exactly the opposite a little bit. Sometimes opportunities were taken from me because I was a woman. But now, where the industry is going, and as these women are growing and becoming leaders, they're changing the whole paradigm. And it's only going to go forward from here.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I'm feeling very positive and inspired by the women that I've met in the STEM community, kind of as a liaison to the library. In the library's collections, we're really trying to focus on allowing our community to learn from women through the resources that they've created for themselves by and for women. But how else? So you're talking about mentorship, you're talking about having more transparent and candid conversations. How else can we, the greater STEM community, support women in this space? What do you hope to achieve at Hoefer Welker, and what do you think that we can do to kind of steward more women to get into this space moving forward?
For sure. Everybody always talks about that networking is the number one way to advance your career, but it really is important. And I think kind of 3 good tenets for networking is you want someone above you or further on in their career, maybe is a better way to put it. Maybe they're not older than you, but they just have more experience in whatever you're trying to accomplish. And they're kind of your mentor and your sounding board when you're like, this is uncharted territory, I don't really know where I'm going. Then you really need kind of a partner in crime. And maybe you have a couple partners in crime. I mean, there's no limit to the number of these kind of people, but someone that's like your equal, similar place in the industry or your career path or what have you, that you can be like, this is difficult, and they're like, yep, I just had that same problem today, and I feel you. And then the important thing then is that you pour all of that goodness that you've gotten from someone ahead of you, and that someone is building you up beside you, into those coming from behind you. And so I think if we kept that model as women in STEM, that we could do a lot, not only to support ourselves when we get into those burnout phases or start questioning what you're doing and why you're doing it, but they also can sometimes be like, okay, you're banging your head against this door here. There's an open door literally next to you. And sometimes you just can't see it because you're in the grind every day. So I think that's the most important thing is that system of networking.
That's a great model, and I totally agree with that. And I hope, the conversations that we've had around the launch of the library's Business Leadership Council, our Stella Nove group, we're really hoping to allow some of those networks to grow a little bit across the STEM industry, across kind of the big STEM umbrella, so that we can create more conversations and more relationships that way. I think that's very important too. So in addition to the library's collections and acquisition resources, the library seeks to really connect science to our younger audiences. And you kind of talked earlier about how, you're talking to schools and getting young people excited about STEM, and there's
Right.
more and more, which is great. What piece of advice would you have for a young person if they were sitting in front of you and they're interested in STEM, but they're kind of apprehensive and they don't know what to do? What would be something that you would share with them?
So I would share two things. And the first is that I've noticed, and I know this in myself, I'm actually talking to myself right now too, that men are really good at counting their successes and women are really good at counting their failures. So like a guy will come home at the end of the workday and be like, I did great at work today, today is a success. Where a woman will come home from work and be like, okay, I nailed it work today, I killed it, but then I didn't have time to make dinner, so today is a failure because I failed the dinner success matrix or whatever you want to call it. And I would love it if more women would count their successes and focus on those successes and give themselves a little more grace, because women typically take on all of these different roles and responsibilities inside the workforce and outside the workforce, and which is awesome, and that's why we're powerful and flexible and capable. But it can also make us feel like we're just not ever doing enough. So that's the first one would be count your successes, remember them, and enjoy them, like savor them, because it's really easy to go to the next thing. The second thing would be don't go at it alone. And I was feeling really down and was talking to a gal that wasn't even in the industry, and she was like, well, I always thought women engineers were like superheroes. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I just do this every day. I go to work, I grind, and I don't even think about the fact that there are people looking up to me. Or other women in STEM. You don't get to choose who looks up to you, but you need those reminders. And when you get in the grind and you keep doing the same old thing every day, or you get in a particular dry season at work or just in your career, you can forget not only your successes, but why you're doing what you're doing and what you love. And so having those people in your life, not necessarily even in the industry, just there to support you, we can't do it alone.
That is great advice. I'm taking both of those, and I get some advice for myself as well. So thank you. I appreciate that. And my last question. So the library, we're not only dedicated to uplifting the works of women in STEM from a historical perspective, but we're also really trying to, with this series and with other initiatives, really supporting the current women who are in the STEM ecosystem and also setting up the future successes of future women pioneers. So what to you does the future of STEM look like, both on maybe a local level or a national, international level? What do you think?
Oh man, I think going forward, I'm hoping more women will find their voice, and it's starting to happen. Like things like this, right? Women are getting a chance to use the microphone and tell their stories. So I think there have been a lot of, which you've already mentioned, women throughout history that are slaving away, doing amazing things, coming up with great ideas. And either not having the confidence to feel like they can take the credit for that, or not having the confidence to feel like they can ask for certain opportunities. And my hope is this rising collective of women will not only keep growing and learning and becoming more and more capable, but will also be willing to say, I deserve this, and be willing to ask for opportunities and then tell their stories.
Well, I think with leaders like you, Ashley, I think we're going to be able to achieve that. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.